Hello, sisters and brothers. Our devotional for today, for July 15, is a reflection on My Utmost for His Highest, a series of devotionals written and compiled by Oswald Chambers. You can always find the link for the daily devotional at utmost.org. And for today's devotional, we're going to read a passage from Romans chapter 1. This is a letter written by Paul, and I'm going to begin at verse 14. That's actually our key verse today, and I'll read through verse 17 of this passage. I am obligated both to Greeks and non-Greeks, both to the wise and to the foolish. That is why I am so eager to preach the gospel also to you who are in Rome. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. For in the gospel the righteousness of God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith. And the devotional is titled My Life's Spiritual Honor and Duty. And there's a different reading of verse 14 in the NIV, and it's a key to the devotional that we're going to talk about, where Paul says, I am a debtor, D-E-B-T-O-R. I am a debtor both to Greeks and to barbarians, Romans 1:14. Paul was overwhelmed with the sense of his indebtedness to Jesus Christ, and he spent his life to express it. The greatest inspiration in Paul's life was his view of Jesus Christ as his spiritual creditor. Do I feel that same sense of indebtedness to Christ regarding every unsaved soul? As a saint, my life's spiritual honor and duty is to fulfill my debt to Christ in relation to those lost souls. Every tiny bit of my life that has value I owe to the redemption of Jesus Christ. Am I doing anything to enable him to bring his redemption into evident reality in the lives of others? I will only be able to do this as the Spirit of God works into me this sense of indebtedness. I am not a superior person among other people. I am a bondservant of the Lord Jesus. Paul said, you are not your own, you were bought at a price. 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. Paul sold himself to Jesus Christ, and he said, in effect, I am a debtor to everyone on the face of the earth because of the gospel of Jesus. I am free only that I may be an absolute bondservant of his. That is the characteristic of a Christian's life once this level of spiritual honor and duty becomes real. Quit praying about yourself and spend your life for the sake of others as the bondservant of Jesus. That is the true meaning of being broken bread and poured out wine in real life. So as we reflect on this devotional, it's clear that the NIV translation of I am obligated does not carry the same weight as I am a debtor. We don't use that word very much. We don't talk about that very much. Some of you may have learned the Lord's Prayer, saying, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. But it's important to think about it in this context, because that is what Paul was saying. He did see Jesus Christ as his spiritual creditor, that there was this line of credit that was established in Paul's life and in yours and in mine by what Jesus did for Paul and what Jesus did for you and what Jesus has done for me. Now, we don't think about bondservants and being indebted like that very often now at all, but there is the sense that we don't get to escape our debt. So if we think about that in this way, we had a debt that was paid fully by Jesus Christ. And sometimes what can happen when we come into our Christian walk and we come into our faith journey is we start to lose a little bit of a sense of just how much that cost. Because after a while, after we start to clean ourselves up and we start to put our efforts towards living the way that God has called us to live, we lose a little bit of the sense of just how big our debt was. We start to think of ourselves as pretty good. Maybe that debt was pretty small, but that's just not true. And we have to remember just how great our debt was and just how great the cost was that Jesus paid for our lives, because that will in turn cause us to use this line of spiritual credit that Jesus has given us to pour ourselves out for others. And if you think of it that way, if you think of Jesus as writing your spiritual line of credit, you know it's never going to run out. You're never going to hit that, because Jesus paid the ultimate price. We can only do what we are called to do. We won't be able to fulfill that in the same way that he did. But think about the group or the people or the persons around you that need to be poured into, where you need to sow some of that credit, where you need to invest in them and put something into their lives that will help to reap a reward for the kingdom. It's called the return on investment. You should try it. Thank you as always for listening. Be safe and stay well.